thanks for taking time out, to share with
Mm,
us your views, because we've got a seminar coming up
mm,
on this particular topic, on how to collaborate with diverse age group.
yeah,
So I think there's a lot of questions around it. I would want to also get your candid views on your experience, but maybe as a start, you can share with us a little bit about yourself and then your encounters, in terms of working with which age group, because
yeah,
yeah, you don't need to tell us your age, but just one clue on your age group, Yeah.
yeah.
So over to you.
Thank you for having me. I'm sure I don't have to. If you're smart, you'll work out how old I've been after I introduce. So I'm Everlyn. I work in a consulting firm currently. I'm the general manager of finance for the business. So we are an MNC with about 100 people, but based in 8 different countries. So it's actually quite diverse in terms of the type of the nationalities we work with, and like you said, the age group. And my history, just to give you a bit of background, I've always been in the financial services industry, from banking to asset management. So now I'm in the consulting, but my role has always been in the finance team, so taking care of the numbers. Um, just given that, so I've worked in this industry for about 15 years. And through my career, of course, I've met wonderful colleagues, mentors, some of which are still actually my friends. So it's quite amazing when, your colleagues could actually become your friends, right? Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the wonderful outcome we all want.
yeah. So so then that brings us to your question, right, on diversity within the workforce. Um, I think let's start with my most recent experience. I feel like that has been the most diverse because like I talked about, we are in 8 different countries. So we're in South Africa, we are in Malaysia, Asia, and
Mhm.
obviously we also have European colleagues, US colleagues. But specifically for my team, I've been in this role for about 6 years. Uh, I have actually hired quite a different types of people. Uh, I think last year we had a new joiner who joined my team. She was 70. She is 70 years old. So she's the oldest actually member that I've hired. So
Wow,
yeah,
wow. Beyond retirement, age limit. But that's cool. That's so cool. Having the energy to want to work, right? And stay in the
yes,
workforce. Wow.
yeah. In some ways, I think when I interviewed her, what drew me to what made me decide was, yes, of course she had the experience, but
Yeah.
just the willingness to still want to learn and to be part of the workforce. And
Mm.
at that point in time, I remember saying to her that I think her energy level is more than, it's higher than mine.
Oh, I see. I see. I thought her energy level is the sum of all. No, no, no. Just kidding.
No, like she was still very active, like after work, she still had social life, which is amazing. Yeah, she
Amazing.
was going for Zumba and all types of. So yeah,
Zumba.
uh, yeah, I know. It's just really inspiring that, when you meet people like that, you just want to, yeah, okay, whatever role I have, I just want to hire you on my team.
I see.
Yeah.
So she's like a magnet, right? She's like a magnet. You are kind of drawn to her, and then you feel like, that kind of having her in the team would be a good addition, or maybe it can be contagious, and then infect the rest, right?
True. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Subsequently we'll talk about some of the challenges as well. Of course, in everything, it's, but I would say age aside, right? In all things humans related, we will have different sets of challenges because when it comes to human, it's not a cookie cutter solution. You can't just say, oh, this is one solution, and you apply to all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just highlighted her because I thought, I think if I were to say in my career as a manager in terms of hiring, that would have been one of my um, most, I would say, challenging but also rewarding experience for
Mm,
me. I will
mm,
share with that. And on my team now, currently, I also have a lady. She's been with us for almost 5 years. So she's deaf and mute. And I
oh,
think when she joined us. So I hired her 5 years ago when I was a new manager at this company. And I think um, how it came about was what the HR just said, oh, there's an interview, this candidate meets all your criteria, but for the interview you have to type. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then she
Mm,
gave more context. So the whole interview at that point in time, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the the tools and technology, but that time we were using Skype. So
mm,
they still didn't have the function where, if you speak, the
yeah.
captions come out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
so I when we typed, literally the interview was held in silence, and it was just like as if you're typing to someone. You could see the face and everything. But anyway, I think again, like I say, I think she's the best candidate I've hired in my career, as well as as a manager. She's still with us. She has grown so much. She was hired for a very junior role, just given her experience at that point in time. Um, and she was just very eager to apply herself. And um, thanks. I think the government had some grants and actually help that would help employers to put into place tools to help a person
Mm, mm,
with disabilities to work. So.
right.
Uh, just a note, if you're listening to this seminar, is I think a lot of us as employers, we are very hesitant when we see some of these things on a resume and we immediately say no. But I just really wanted to say, and I think I wanted to highlight her because I really wanted to encourage people,
Mm,
employers, is um, to give them a chance. Actually, it's really not difficult.
mm,
You
mm,
know, so she can't hear, she can't speak, but because given the nature of the job, right? I'm in finance. A lot of us now, I think we are so reliant on chats, on emails.
mm. In any way, yeah. In any case, right?
In any
Yeah.
case, exactly. So, even if you're blind, I think I've seen actually, because when we first hired someone with disabilities, we were sent some information. They
Right.
could, you could type. There's so many ways now.
Mm,
But anyway, back to her is she's rose through the ranks in our business. She's been promoted twice in the last 5 years. And the recently in just 2 months ago, I promoted her to manage the accounting team,
cool.
to manage people. And I think just to see her flourish, and I think she appreciates that, but just to see her flourish and doing exactly what she was meant to do,
Mm,
and not seeing her through that filter that there's a disability there.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think this unconscious bias is something that hold a lot of managers back, and not just managers but potential colleague, right? Even then, the potential colleagues have to learn how to interact and work with diverse workforce. And I think what you mentioned is so encouraging, because the skill sets are all hidden behind that filter. And what you have done is look beyond that filter, bring down that filter, and then benefit, right? Harness from that knowledge, skills, and experience in that individual, and then bring it out. Wow, but it really needs a brave and courageous manager like yourself, who is also equally adaptive, I must say, because I'm pretty sure you adapted as well. Yeah, the tools, the silence. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm, okay.
Um, I wouldn't say I'm adaptive, lah, but I think
So
I
humble.
would. I just try to think that if I were at age 70, or if I had a disability, what I would want employers to give me the opportunity is to just see me for the work that I can do,
Right, right.
rather than just looking at me through the age filter. Again, like I said, all these filters that we
Mm,
unconsciously, like you pointed out, just apply. But
mm.
actually, these things may not affect the performance. And I would have lost a great performer and a loyal colleague if I had just said, no, I don't want to interview her because, oh, she's got that disability.
I see.
Yeah.
Were there
So, mm,
teething problems? Sorry, just to ask
yeah,
a quick question,
yeah. I think also to give a credit to like my bosses then, who I had to, seek approval
Yeah,
from to hire her.
yeah.
I think they were very encouraging. We've never had someone with disabilities before.
Mm,
And they said, yeah, go for it. And I think um, and that's the type of environment that I think also makes me want to work in. Yeah. So I think the teething problems, I think going back to uh, the elderly lady
Right.
was, I think, given her experience, she was definitely more experienced than any one of us on the team when it comes to the technical accounting experience.
Okay.
But I think I would say the steep learning curve for me was I actually did not realize that even things such as Internet Explorer, word processing like Word document, these were things that people their generation are not familiar with, and we take it for granted that the society has evolved, right? Even setting aside the TikToks and everything else that's coming out daily now, but
Yes.
word processor is something that I probably used when I was in very young doing projects. So
Yes.
I thought when I was young, she would have been a certain age, she would have
Right.
used that, right?
Right.
Um, so that was actually that to me, yeah.
It's
Sorry
like
for
to
being so
get
candid.
all. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, hey, this is what we want. This is what we want to hear, all that candid stories and all that. Yeah. So we made an assumption. Made an
Yes,
assumption.
it's true. I like how you said that. So we made an assumption. So, in all our conversations when we were hiring or in interviews, I think when we talk about technology, I was referring to the software, the different types of software, accounting software, project management tool software.
Okay.
So no one bothered to clarify what was involved, right? So when she first started was
Okay. Tell us.
um, there were challenges. I noticed there was like how should I put it? There was a delay in getting some of the things done, and it
Ah,
wasn't like so. I then had to have a chat. I was like, oh, what's the hold up? And then to sit with her. Actually, the only way, if you're working, and I want to say again as a note, is when you're working with someone from an older generation,
yeah.
um, chats, like Skype, Teams, Zoom, it's not the
Mm,
best solution. And even
mm,
when you speak verbally,
right.
that's what I've learned during the interviews. When you speak verbally,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you kind of get it, but sit down with them, sit next to them, and get them to show you.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So I mean,
Verify. Right.
yeah, so even now, I mean, maybe some of us are working from home. You could still get them to share their screen, but really, I realize, and I think this applies to all, whether old or young. So I also have someone very young on my team, fresh grad. And sometimes, when you ask how are things going, they'll be like, going
Right.
wow, we're getting there. But then when you get the piece of work, it's like, okay, can you draw a pineapple? So like, yeah, we can draw it. Yeah, you know what a pineapple looks like? Yes, we can. So you kind of describe, yeah, it's got that leaves and then yellowish
Right.
green and then pointy. Okay. So like three
Okay.
days you draw me a picture, right?
Right.
Three days later you're like, is it done? Yes. And then you get a strawberry. I'm like, okay.
Oh, F. Strawberry generation. No, no, I'm just
I
kidding.
did
So
not mean that. Yeah.
I know, I
But
know.
yeah, I think what we as managers or colleagues sometimes just
Yeah.
if you find that someone is struggling, right, don't spend your time back and forth on emails, chat, or even
Mm,
sit down with them and get them to show you what exactly are they doing so that
mm,
everyone can agree, oh, you're not really drawing a pineapple, you're drawing a strawberry. That's just an analogy. But
mm,
I just wanted to say with actually it's not just unique to that elderly lady when she was trying to explain to me what she did wrong. So I sat down with her, then I realized um, the browser was a problem. She didn't understand what the browser was. So
okay.
when I said open up this software, she was trying to look for the name of the software on her
And where
computer.
to look? And where to
Exactly.
look? Oh
So I
God.
think, yeah, programs, she was looking under programs. So we
Mm,
use a Windows, right? And then she was trying to find the name, but then it was like, no, it's a browser. And then
mm,
from the browser, because all these are cloud-based, go to that link, save
yeah.
it as a favorite. So anyway, yeah, so we had to teach her how to save as favorites,
Right.
bookmark that page, certain things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was actually a, a surprise, a
Mm,
surprise for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the DOS generation, the DOS generation, this operating system. Those who understand this term, oh gosh, same generation as I. Oh my. Yeah, the
I shall
dwarf
not
generation.
comment.
You shall not comment. Yeah, please. Just stay that way. Oh my God.
Um,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
so
Hmm.
so so
I
we
love
actually
this
had to
story.
spend.
I really love this story. Yeah, so
Oh,
fundamental. Open your browser. What? But too shy to ask, you know.
yeah. So to be honest, yeah, I think we so easily assume that someone understands what you're talking about, and when they come in, you just assume the basic step of understanding is that they can open up Word, open up Excel, and then the browser. But again, I'm saying this not to to discredit her or
Yeah, yeah,
to
of
complain,
course.
but I think just highlighting some of the challenges that I think are very real,
Yeah,
and we do need to be more mindful if we were to hire someone, slightly older or even different from us.
right.
Because even I think sometimes even when it comes to nationality,
Mm,
right, it's not, we shouldn't naturally assume that this is how certain thing works. That's why
right.
I think earlier on I started by saying when it comes to humans, there's no cookie cutter solution. You cannot just apply one to all.
One size does not fit all. Yeah.
Correct,
I like
correct.
the cookie cutter terminology. Yeah, you can't
Mm,
and you can't assume. The assumption piece is very, very big, right? The moment we think that way, and then it will influence how we feel, and how we feel will translate into how we react or behave around people, right?
correct, exactly.
Mm,
And quickly, I think one of the few, so that leading on to the other challenges would be we are very used to multitasking. This is like the word, of this generation, multitask. But bearing in mind when they were working, they were focused on one task, right? And then they could do the same task forever. But now we
mm,
are so, easily bored and we need ways of engaging. So just managing the browser and an email can be challenging for them. So one of the challenges was uh, now a lot of things come via email, right? Or chats. So you have like an instructions, you go, hey, can you do this? And it's in the chat. And then the email comes through, hey, can you do this? It's in
mm,
another. They, it's hard. It's hard for them to navigate.
mm.
So
Do you find that you need to kind of use multiple channels to communicate with the mature workforce, and then at the same time use another channel to communicate with the fresh grad, and they are all part of your team. Say you have a team message, and to assign a task to the fresh grads, you probably drop a file, which is something I do. I drop a file in WhatsApp, or I drop a file. In fact, they don't quite like WhatsApp. They like Telegram. So I drop a file in Telegram, to that intern, and then to the mature workforce, they like emails. And I was saying, look, I've got quota on my email, so I wouldn't like to burst that. Can we use
mm,
another channel? And then, there's a bit of adjustment there, but email seems to be the norm over there. So same team kind of instruction, but I have to use multiple channels. Do you face that?
for me, no. I think,
Okay.
but I can understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. And I think because for us,
Mm,
we do have in-house processes and things that we need to follow. So
oh, okay.
also because my team is not that big, the finance team, we have about 5 people. So for me to have to cater, one, I was being lazy, but so I
So
was not
parent.
really, yeah. But then I think long time ago when I first started out working, I had a manager who told me if someone cannot do the job, 70% of it is because of your processes.
Mm,
30% is aptitude. Now I don't know whether that mix has now tilted, but I always believe that in what he said, and let's start with me throughout my career, is process. If your process are tight and there's a way for people to follow. So I think in instead of like having a different types of channel, what I now do and encourage my team to do is to have checklists.
right.
It doesn't have to be comprehensive, but if the checklist is to be followed by the same group of people, so regardless of whether this person is new or has worked, right, it's
Mm,
just there in somewhere on that computer. So it's like putting a post-it note on your screen. But
right.
if they have the checklist and they follow, and on your checklist if you need certain things, right, what needs to be done, and then you put the link, now you can insert links, right? That helps also. So I think that's it. I think when it comes to the younger and older generation, I think younger generation, they absolutely have no issues with adapting to all the different types of things you want to do.
Really? Oh, cool. They're so used to like picking up a new, new knowledge, new tool, new way of doing things and all that. They pick it up quite quick, right? Yeah.
Correct. And they just Google it, they just search, the
Yeah.
answer is there. Whereas, when someone who is struggling with even the browser, just going to Google, it's not, they don't even know how to do that. But
Mm.
um, maybe not change a different method, but limit the exposure that they have to all the systems suddenly. So give them time to focus on one particular, the
Right.
key tool first. So for
Okay.
example, if email is the key tool, like you've pointed out, then use that first, but slowly expose them to the other things. But we can't do it concurrently. So maybe the tools would be the same, but the methods of trying to teach them how to use it would be slightly different from versus someone who's a bit more
Mm.
IT savvy.
I
Yeah.
see.
So training, after we realized that issue, we immediately suggested training, and Skills Future, a lot of these
Causes.
trainings now, courses now, government has a lot of these to
Yeah.
help people, from the silver generation to come back to workforce. So just send them there, the resources are there. It's not, the onus is not on the employers to pay for it or to provide for it, but
Mm.
it's to just give them time and recognize that when you are hiring someone who may not have all the skills, give them
Mm.
time to train because
Mm.
it benefits you eventually. So yeah, the basic course was how to use a Word document. Eventually, she came back and she said, "Yeah, it was so basic. Yeah, lah, we understand." Like that was the conversation. It was so basic, but what she found interesting was the browser, the bookmarks, and everything, and how you create a shortcut on your desktop for the browser.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
It's like she likes the condiments, but the main dish, okay lah. I mean, so it's
yeah,
so
she's like, I know
straightforward.
how to use Word. Yeah, she's like, I know how to use Wiki. It's like, okay. But yeah, I mean, it was a learning experience for us. And I think just quickly touch base, I don't know whether I've
No, no, no.
overrun, but
Yeah, yeah, you're
yeah.
fine. Fine.
Yeah, so in terms of someone with disability, and I also want to touch that because
Yeah, please.
I
Yeah,
think again, I do want to say employers, regardless of whether they, what
right.
they come, just give them a chance. And I think what we did initially was we also were mindful of the disability. So
Right.
how we catered to her was we had to change the way that we communicated as a team. Now you might think that that's very natural. So yeah, I've also mentioned nowadays we just email, we Telegram, we WhatsApp,
Yes.
Slack, whatever. So
Yeah.
when it comes to work, there was no issue. But then you also have to realize, oh, but then there's those team lunches, there's those company lunches,
Yeah.
there's
So what
those
to do?
trainings, there's those meetings. What do we do?
Yeah.
So 5 years ago, I think things were not as advanced as it is now. So when we
Agree.
went for team lunches, you realize that we were just texting away to each other via text. But thankfully, I had very good team members at that time also who really they really wanted to support her. So they picked up basic sign languages like
I love
signing.
it.
Yeah, so like the basic terms like lunch. Actually, I still don't know how to sign. I'm so bad at it. I keep signing the wrong things to her until I was like, forget.
Wow.
So they would, yeah, so during lunch they'll take her out and then they would say, let's they learn. So, when they come back soon, I realized they know how to say good morning, good evening, thank you, and like lunch, all the basic day-to-day things they were signing. I was like, okay, now I feel left out, but it was amazing.
Oh, I love
So
it.
that
This
was
is
that,
such
yeah.
a lovely story. This is a very, very good story. I can just imagine, one of my daughters working in this environment because she came home one day and she said,
Mm,
"Mom, I'm just gonna learn how to sign, do sign language." And I'm like, "Why?" And she said she just felt it inside her to do that. And I can see why now. I mean, I can just imagine
mm,
why, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And that's so cool. That's so cool. Everybody wanting to learn to sign. But what about the mature workforce? Did she feel like she's also wanting to connect with the deaf and the mute?
Yeah, so yes, they had no problems. In fact, the mature workforce, when it comes to certain things like embracing diversity,
Yeah. Being
shame to say,
inclusive.
right, they are really like they are more on board than some of us. Like they're just not hesitant. They don't see, yeah, they don't see that, they really do not see disability. So, part of
Very nice.
my the regular team lunches that I was telling you, the regular colleagues, it's one of them was the mature workforce. They would just go out together, the three of them, and then they would lunch and they would come back and they learn. I'm still trying to learn Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after so many years.
I'm gonna test you, Evelyn. I will test you.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a
but
pass, huh?
yeah, so I would have to say when we first hired her, the challenges were not when it comes to work. She is a bright girl. She learns fast, she gets instructions, and I think she's very used to email instructions. She understands it, she applies it, and um, yeah, I mean, but then when it comes to the social gatherings, that was challenging, of course, because especially when it came to activity, lunch was still easy because you're seated down and eating. But
Mm.
when we went out for team bowling,
Mm. Mm.
or like rock climbing or like go-kart, that
Oh, tell
kind,
me.
like, so someone, and again, like I said, the people on my team, who have now become her lunch kakis, right? They really looked out for her. Like they would always, in fact, again, so ashamed to say, I'm not as sensitive and
Mm.
attentive to her needs, but the regular team would actually like stand beside her. Someone would always be there with her. And you can see they're not signing, but they are just typing on their phone and saying, okay, this is what you do. So we we did initially had to make more effort to integrate her, into these activities, the social gathering aspect,
Right.
not
Right.
so much the work. So for her, that were some of the challenges. Then team meetings, when you came to team meetings, of course you sit together. Then in a typical Asian environment, nobody talks. So so it's just me talking. But I also initially tried to, connect my computer to a screen and then type and
Yeah.
speak at the same time. But
Mm.
it's actually quite challenging because actually when you're talking, you also want to engage the rest of the people, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
initially we had a few tries. The challenge I had was I tried to type and talk. So what I was doing is I was talking first, then I was repeating everything I said into
Yeah.
the screen so that she could see. Um, then we also tried ways of, you buy a microphone and then you put in the middle of the meeting room. And then eventually, I think some of the like Skype they had, and even Microsoft and other tools, there's so many tools where
Mm.
um, they try to capture what you say and then
Mm.
it comes out on the screen.
Yeah.
Um, but that wasn't very accurate, and some of the things were really inappropriate for a company
I
setting.
think if I'm not wrong. I think Zoom has an add-on where
Oh,
you can allow audiences with different language background to also listen into the conversation, and then the subtitles will come out translated in their local language or preferred language. Maybe that
wow.
could help, but I mean, all you need is English, right? English subtitles. That's what I know. I don't know. Maybe
Mm,
that's something that can be explored, and I'm sure there's a lot of technology companies out there that can provide all these assisted tools, right?
yeah, yeah,
Mm. To
exactly.
include more different groups, diverse groups, and I think we are in a good place right now with technology. Yeah.
Yes, no, I have to agree. Like now, especially last year,
Mm.
so Microsoft Teams, they transited from Skype to Teams, and it has a live caption options, and that has really, really changed the
That's
way
very
that she
useful.
interacts with us, for meetings.
Mm.
Previously, when it was a team meeting, we could still, cater to her and keep typing for her to see. But then some of the like the global meetings where everyone called into a video conference, it was hard. It was hard for her to follow up unless someone was next to her translating. But even then, you kind of miss there's always that you're not getting the full conversation, right? Because you're then hearing and then listening to what others are translating for you. But
Mm. Mm.
now, when we have Zoom and our CEO updates the companies, the
Okay.
live caption comes on and she gets it. And what I really loved was actually last year when our CEO, and he was so supportive when we hired her, never hesitated, was
Yeah.
when he went around the forum and he went around the Singapore office and he asked
Okay.
for feedback.
Yeah.
She could immediately, and he mentioned her name, she could immediately see her name being called and then the question he was asking, and the way she responded was typing. It was so amazing. It was as if she was live there. And
Yeah. Fully engaged, right? Fully
fully
engaged.
engaged. Yeah, but that
Wow.
was just a pivotal moment for me. And I think I realized, wow, how far we have come in terms of, you
Yeah.
know, helping someone who is
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
feel part of a workforce that we
Being
are so
inclusive.
that we take for granted every day. No,
Mhm.
seriously, that literally, I mean, you might think I'm emotional, but that was really an
No,
emotional
I
moment
love
because
it.
I was so proud that our company as a whole, has fully embraced this person. And
Very
she now,
nice.
yeah, and now all the video updates that our CEO or our exco members does, we upload onto a cloud. There is like subtitles that they make it a point to include the subtitles so she can go up and read it, or anyone can go up and read it. But it's just making an effort. We
Yes.
just have to be so mindful. Yeah, but um, yeah, I mean,
Like
I
that. I
probably have
like that.
digressed. Yeah,
No,
but
no,
I
no. I
mean,
think this
yeah,
is good. This is good. I'm gonna take away as an action as well for myself to make sure that, because we've been putting out quite a lot of videos. I just want to make sure that subtitles are in there. I think this is one cool takeaway for me. Yeah, this is very good. Yeah. Very nice
yeah,
story. Yeah. I think it takes a good manager like yourself, who
mm,
took the risk, but is I'm so pleased to hear that you are reflecting, along the journey. And
hmm.
then where you are, I mean, basically you're practicing mindfulness, right? You're in the moment, you're appreciating the moment, and then you're also reflecting back to the journey. It's so beautiful. I like this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
I,
think there are a lot of like lessons that I shouldn't have repeated also lah. But I think
we
what
all
I
learn.
also found challenging is, sometimes when things are stressful, let's be very real. You just want to be able to look up from your desk and say, "Oi, can you please do this now?" You know, I
Yes.
cannot do that with her. But that's very real, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, what for share if we're not? So
Mm,
sometimes, when things are really, and you still have to type and say, "Can I have this light?" But that's something that happens to all of us. And yeah, I just have to say, like in those moments, you just also wish, like, you don't wish, but sometimes, of course, as humans, we go, if I could
natural.
just go over, yeah, because yeah, or like when things are, um there are mistakes done, you do wonder whether sometimes the
Is
tone that you express is being felt. But I think that's just human, and sometimes, again, maybe we can definitely I can practice a bit more kindness. It's not a bad thing if you have to slow down and then type, so that before the message goes out.
yeah.
Just so, but I think if we talk about these two groups, and I think I didn't talk about the younger generation, but I think these are the two more diverse, and for me.
Mm,
uh and one of the not so happy story is the elderly lady. Eventually we had to discontinue the
mm,
work and the arrangement, and in fact she initiated it. But like I said, I think given that the demands of the job was actually quite heavy. There were a lot of demands, and it was actually, when we hired her and when we talked about helping her, we did not factor in the time that we actually needed to teach the
mm.
basics, like the technology. And like earlier I said, you have to slowly integrate them into, expose them to the different systems. So
Mm.
that learning time was actually, um, not factored into our onboarding or induction. So we just assume,
So
okay, maybe we'll give
valuable.
them a bit more time, but that a bit more time is actually a lot more because of the ways that you have to actually slowly help them.
Mm.
So
So true.
with it, yeah. So I think just be a bit more realistic about the timeline that the person who's
Mm.
different, be it age reasons or disability, would take to be able to fulfill that day to day. And I think because of that, she sadly came to us and say, I think it was also causing her a bit of stress,
Okay.
which I also then now, I did feel bad because we really should have considered all these. But again, it's a learning journey. I would have never known that if I hadn't met her. So I felt bad because in a way I felt like we brought someone on board and made them feel like they were inadequate. And that's really something that I should have been more mindful of, is just recognizing that they bring to us a different set of skills. Like I said, they are fully on board when it comes to embracing
Yeah.
that deaf and mute lady, and many other things. They are very supportive, they're very encouraging, but the other aspects maybe take more time. But I think just be careful of not making them feel
Mm.
lousy about themselves.
I like that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was my lesson that I think I still I take with me now, is we may have in our ways of saying this is not fast enough, you're not learning this fast enough, right? Or however
Right.
we said it, you made
Right.
someone feel like they're really a bit useless, especially,
Mm.
coming back to the workforce and wanting to stay in the workforce at their age is already, a testament to their resilience and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it was also a very emotional. I think when she resigned,
Mm.
yeah, I didn't. It really struck a
Yeah.
note within me. Yeah,
Struck a soft chord, a
yeah,
very emotional chord with you. I can see you're a very people-centered manager. Yeah.
not
On
not exact, really
Not
no.
exactly. I think you're beating yourself too hard. You're beating yourself too hard. I've met a lot of people managers, and even when they recount those experiences, it's not with emotions. And I can see you're in touch with your emotions, which is good. But sometimes we get, distracted by KPIs, by company performance, and then the task on hand. Then we get too task focused. But this is, we all have different ways of working, and I like that you kind of you reflect, and then you eat a humble pie. Yeah, which is not easy. I think the first step to learning anything is to to acknowledge what actually
Yeah,
went wrong, so to speak,
mm,
or areas where I could have done better given another chance. What can I do, to have a better outcome, so to speak? As they say, hindsight is always 2020, right? I mean, when we
yeah,
reflect back, we'll
exactly.
say, yeah, we should have done that. But some people don't even reflect, I would say. Yeah. So you've come so far to even take the challenge to bring them on.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but again, I try to think like if we were in that situation, what would I want an employer to do for me,
Yeah.
right? So I would say if I have to
Yeah.
um leave some notes for employers who are looking to hire, definitely just give them the chance, right? They bring a different set of skills and soft skills that they
Mm,
add to the team that you will
mm.
probably not be able to get it from a slightly younger generation. But
Yeah.
I say also be very realistic about what you can and cannot accept. So
Mm,
if sometimes time, we are
yeah.
so like rushed for time, is something that you may not, it's not a luxury for you at this stage, then consider, can you then, structure your work for these
Yeah.
generation people in a way that helps them
Yeah.
reduce the time. But if the answer is no and you've explored, right, then I would have to say, um, and I don't want to sound like I'm trying to say don't hire them, but you have
Right.
to be very realistic, because what I came to realize was, because I did not factor in all this, I
Mm,
brought someone on
mm,
and through and tried to help them by saying
mm,
go for this, go for this, go for this,
mm,
and they
mm,
did. But in
mm,
the end, we leave those people discouraged because they feel lousy, so in
They,
a way I
it's like
feel,
we
yeah,
emphasize the gap. It's like we, unconsciously emphasize a gap, right? It's like you're pointing
correct.
out the differences, and they're feeling the difference. So in a way, you didn't want to demotivate them. Something with a good intention initially to motivate them and then help them bridge the skills gap, could end up being maybe a demotivating factor. Not that it was part of the plan anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe, of course, again, I'm not HR, so there are probably other people, HR professionals looking into these issues already. But
I
I
think
just
you
want
have
to
a
say,
lot of HR already in you.
no.
In you. You have. I mean, that's what human, yeah, you have a lot of the human touch. You do, you
Yeah.
do, you do.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Now I feel
Step
really
it.
good about myself. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, just be mindful of that. If you cannot, right, then maybe don't rush into hiring them immediately. But in all things nowadays, like I said, there's different tools, technology, or
Yeah.
processes, all these like efficient way of doing things. If we, again, 70% is process. If they can
Mhm.
follow it and be able to do the job that you require of them, maybe not to 100% immediately,
Yeah.
and that's good enough. Yeah, why not take the chance, go for it, because they are able, they can do it, just because few more strengths of gray hair or whatever.
Yeah, which I've been hiding very well.
Yeah, that's not a disqualification. I just want to say that. Yeah, and but of course, I'm not only coming out and say, oh, hire them. I
Mm,
failed when
mm,
it came to that hire. So
I see.
um
But
so
I
yeah.
was going to ask you, what
Mm,
advice would you give to, the mature generation, um, and the likes of the hire which you brought in, who still have the energy, still have the interest to want to be gainfully employed, and I think it's beyond the career, so to speak. Maybe they just want to continue contributing to the workforce, be part of a community, so to speak, in the working world. What advice can you give them, right, to work with,
oh,
of course, younger managers? Yeah, but just just anything off the cuff kind of thing that.
yeah. I
Hmm,
mean, they definitely, I wouldn't say I'm giving them advice, but I think just in my interaction with that senior hire. So she's the only one I hired. Just wanted to say that. But currently my company still hires someone who's also 70 plus. She's 73 this year.
amazing.
She takes care of our office. So I just want to say, just in case you think I only have one experience, well, I have two.
All
And she's
right.
still working for us. So I
I
think,
like your company. I like it. It's very
yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, like I mentioned when we first started,
Mm,
when we talked about expectations, it's good to put it in layman terms, like when you are old, don't have to. So when someone says technology, are you willing to learn? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe understand and clarify a bit what it entails. So
okay.
as the older generation, when you come back to work, is keep an open mind. Of course, we all know that. Be willing to adapt, but
Yeah.
we also have to be realistic. The ability, the time that they take to adapt would maybe a bit
Correct.
longer than anyone else. So
Mm, mm,
as someone who's older generation coming back to work,
yeah.
be mindful of that, but also be open about it. I feel like don't have to try to be something you're not, and we also have to realize that we cannot expect someone
Mm,
70 or above. I mean, they
yeah.
are very mindful, but there's human biological restrictions, whatever. We have to
Right.
be mindful, and don't be afraid
Right.
to be open about that. So that employers actually
Yeah.
also know what they are getting into when they hire you.
Mm,
But I do have to say that when a company, and there are a lot of companies out there doing such things, and good on them,
mm,
they are willing to hire, so they would already know what it entails for them. But as a candidate looking for a job, be open, be real, because you don't want to also end up in a company that doesn't understand your challenges and then try to push you again. Like I said, back to that experience, is you don't have to feel lousy about yourself. There's a gap. We all recognize that. And as an employer, as an employee, the job is to bridge the gap as much as we can. And there are,
mm.
there are ways of doing that. But don't try to pretend that that gap is not there.
I really, really, really like that.
Oh,
Be real. I like that
yeah.
piece of advice, because there's always the extremity, right? Of trying to fit into the norm, which is fine, but to what degree? To what
Mm,
extent? And then you might lose yourself as well. This is actually not me, so to speak, right? And
mm,
uh, and then there's always a degree of adaptation, because we can always step out of character, but that's the baseline is still our base character. So then you go through a state of dissonance. This is not me, but I'm trying to be this because I know I need to fit in. So I really like that advice. It's okay. It's okay to, recognize and then be open and share that this part I don't feel so comfortable, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I think the last thing I would say is the uh how should I put it? Be more thick-skinned, because obviously we all have the idea that when you're older you have a lot of rules, and you're more like you do judge the way that some of the younger people, even the strawberry
Okay.
generations, are so like easily bored and everything.
Mm-mm.
Recognize that there's differences, but I
Mhm.
think when I say thick skin, is just
Yeah.
recognize that my way of working, and we are so task oriented these days. I'm very guilty of that. We no longer sit down like them, through that generation, is to spend time on the human relations first.
I know,
Whereas,
right?
yeah, so they might think, hey, how come this one so rude, or how come so curt, in the instructions?
Right, 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 right,
Be a
right.
bit thick skinned and recognize that it's a different style. It's not targeted at you. It's not personal.
Mm, mm,
So that
mm.
you can also, because once we have these ideas out of the way,
Yep,
that gap
yep,
is there, but we know, because
yep.
we tend to naturally bring that gap further by thinking, oh, they are very curt, they're very rude, they don't like me. But
Oh, I
actually, it's
love
not.
it. Yeah, I mean, I love your point. Your point, when you talk about be a bit more thick-skinned, is actually don't take everything personally.
Yes,
It's like,
yes,
not everything is about you. It's like, not everything is about they don't like me. I think I must be the odd one out, or something like that, right? So
yeah,
good. Wow.
no, yeah. Don't, I mean, in a way, don't disqualify yourself with
Mm,
your own mind.
mm,
It's
mm.
yeah. So
Wow. Wow, I've listed quite a lot already. It's
yeah,
so
so
good.
I
It's
think
so
that's
good.
like, yeah, really the top three lah. I think it's just really be very open and be real about what you're good at, what you think
Yeah.
you can do within the
Yeah.
near future, and then yeah,
Don't try to be something you're not, right? Yeah. Pace yourself, because there's basically, pace yourself. Kudos to trying, because I think that's what you have been doing, and great as a manager, encouraging them, and then trying to, I think everybody is trying to kind of adapt to one another. That's what I can sense from your anecdotal experience. And then, be real, be a little thick skin. I've written it down. Yeah. And don't take everything so personally,
yeah,
right? Accept it. Acknowledge it and say, okay, it is what it is. Not everything is about me. It is, they are who they are, right?
yeah.
So, oh, that's a very good one. What about advice to younger generation?
Uh, when I
If
consider
any.
myself younger also, okay. Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I like it, Evelyn. You say, what advice? I'm from that.
no, I think, yeah, I mean, just referring to the fresh grad that I
The
hired,
fresh grad, fresh grad. Yeah,
she's
yeah.
quite young. Be a bit more mindful of the relationships, the heart side of things, the heart, the
Yeah.
don't be
Yeah.
so fast and quick to judge also. I
Mm,
think when it
mm,
comes to working with people, sometimes we are so quick to judge, to say, oh, this
mm,
person got that, because I think
mm.
we are living in a world where everything is quick. There's that instant, immediate, I need a thing, I need a solution, I need
Yes.
an answer. But it just take time, because actually, tasks aside, focus on the interpersonal relationships as well. Because I think when I first started this conversation, I said a lot of my colleagues, some of them, in fact, I'm good friends with a boss that I've worked for 10 years ago. I know
Mm,
him, I know his wife, I know his kids, I watched them grow up.
mm,
These relationships are the ones that you want to bring on in life. And throughout, after I've left my previous jobs and I've moved a few,
mm.
I realized that I actually still need their help. And whenever I go back to them for advice, they are
Right.
all still so willing, at
Mm,
least those that I've, built a relationship with, they're
right.
also willing to just link me up with a contact, help
Mm,
me introduce to someone
mm.
that is helpful to me in my career now. I mean, you just never know,
Yeah,
right?
it's a community. It's a
Yeah.
community. No man is an island anyway, right?
And I just want to say, maybe if this is what I say a lot these days, is
Right,
don't
right.
burn bridges. Don't burn bridges.
Mm,
Singapore is not, you might think Singapore is small and the world is small. You will be surprised.
mm, mm,
If
mm.
you're a job seeker coming out from a uni and you've gone for interview,
Right.
don't be rude, because you just never know. And I have seen um people overseas, you'll be surprised that you keep seeing resumes from different seasons of that same person coming through to you. The world
Oh,
is small, the industry is small. People know this person. A
yeah,
knows B, B knows C, C knows A again.
yeah.
Don't burn those bridges, because it's not good for you. There's no upside in doing that.
I like this. Yeah. Don't burn bridges because they come from a generation where instant gratification is the order of the day. They want everything fast. That's why they are so savvy in multitasking. Anything they decide on relationship fast. Remember, we were talking about before we started, where we were talking about removing followers, right? It's like you just make up your mind and decide for yourself. Do you want to continue? Do you want to allow them to follow? Wow, this sort of function never existed, right? Before. Wow, yeah, I see. Okay, so take a little chill pill, so to speak, right? And then, give yourself a chance to observe and then don't jump into conclusion. I
Yeah,
like.
and don't be annoyed at all. I mean, I think you
Oh,
find all the answers on Google now, but you don't know it all. You
love it,
really
love
don't.
it.
There are some things that only comes with experience, and there's that Chinese saying, "I eat salt more than you eat,"
Oh,
right?
yeah, correct.
But
Yeah,
there's a reason why that saying has
yeah.
gone on. Like you cannot buy those experience with Google, with
Mm,
your phone, your gadgets. Yeah.
mm.
So take it from someone, who has
I
gone
think your first advice is a very good one. Focus on the hard side, right? Which is build relationship, right? Focus on really building that human connection. Wow. Pass aside. Yeah, that's what I put it down. Try and understand a bit more. And then you were sharing about how in your career journey, the people that you have worked with, the career path that have crossed, you're still going back, right, leaning on them as well from time to time, because we do not succeed just solely by ourselves. In fact, I mean, I totally concur with you that when an individual succeed, is actually, with the presence of many people around you, whether they are stronger, they are weaker. Sometimes you win because people kind of take a step back and let you win. Never thought of that. Right? Yeah, yeah. Cool. So, what about, the physically challenged group? Is there, I know this is, to me, this is one plus that we got out of this chat interview. I wasn't expecting this. I was only expecting, in terms of age differences.
Mm.
But yeah, I think the physically challenged group is also a diverse group that we need to start embracing.
Yeah,
And yeah.
yeah.
So any advice?
Yeah, I think so this is a bit contentious, but I think I just want to bring, so how you and I got to know each other is through the stroke associations, and
Yeah.
I think through the stories, because I volunteer there.
Mm,
There have been stories that people who have suffered from stroke, and that they are back now,
yeah.
maybe not fully back to their normal 100% functions, but they struggle with employment. And I
Yes.
think that, and I just want to mention that is because, again, back to my earlier shout out, is employers, just be so open, keep an open mind. These people, despite that,
Mm,
they can still work.
mm,
And
mm,
so what if they cannot run fast because of their
mm, mm, mm,
the leg, the limb now?
mm,
They can
mm,
use their brain, they can use their
mm,
hands to type. They are equally able.
mm,
Just don't disqualify people. So I just really want to say that, because that's really so close to my heart. But
mm,
an advice to someone, the disabled, is you have to recognize your journey is going to be a bit more challenging when it comes to employment. So what would help is maybe when you go for an interview, or even before you go for an interview, maybe just help the employers know what are the resources available to them if they were to hire you. Because
Oh, I love that.
because I never knew about all these grants, and there are really a lot out there, you know.
Right, right.
Just because we are not aware doesn't mean. So when we hired again that lady, we the government agency actually reached out to us and say these are the grants available to you if you do this, and it's a lot. So what if you are that and you're seeking for employment, or even if you're already in an employment, you know, help your employer by saying, you know, because now you're going to employ me, these are the tools available for you, and be open. Okay, so for example, if you need a ramp, you know, a wheelchair, whatever,
Yeah.
or if you need like a tool, you know, like we example the live captions.
Yeah, yeah.
Ones are there. Just say, I need this for my job. This will
Yeah.
help me be more efficient.
Yeah.
And I know as an employer, of course, you don't want to hire me and pay the additional cost, but these are all the grants, and you can get this from here, from here, from here. So help them understand, be prepared. You know, so they also know that you understand them as an employer. So So I think
it takes two hands, right? It takes two hands to clap. And then, you know, you're also helping the employer, so to speak, by pointing them to resources that are already available, funding that are, you know, also readily accessible. So, you know, you basically help with your own onboarding, number one. Number two, I think help to lower the resistance. Um,
correct.
Correct. Yeah, because it's not as we're living in new times. We're living in new times, and also I think I like that suggestion, because one is physical, you know, presence, where you need to be in the same space, and that's where, you know, physical adjustment like ramps and stuff like that. But then there's also the virtual front, which is captions and stuff like that. So wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm also new to this, but I think this is the reality that happens, you know, around us. Plus what you mentioned is untapped talent. I think that's what you're trying to say, you know, from the beginning. There's a lot of untapped talent there. Why should we allow the physical challenge be that filter, and then we discount? We discount them, we are actually discounting ourselves of that
Correct.
opportunity, right?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, there are actually really a lot of grants, like when I saw it. And in fact, they recognize that these people, they need a buddy system when they first join. So there's
Oh,
even
nice.
transition for the buddy system. So
Right.
I mean, just be open. So, but as a candidate, again, this is clearly for the people who are seeking employment. One is that. Two is just help them understand, despite your disabilities, right? We just assume someone who's deaf and mute not do certain things. Help them understand your disabilities. Be real about it. I know we don't want to highlight that and make it an issue, but help them understand it, so that, and also, of course, you know, you have the JD here, the job description. These are your disabilities. Help them understand how to bridge. Remember earlier I said bridge.
Bridge, yes.
Helping them understand what your disabilities are, and then using that to say, this is the job description, disabilities. Help them see that the gap is actually not as wide as they think in their head. Just so you sell yourself like that. You know, you have to, because your experience, your resume could have the same experience as someone who's normal. And then employers usually think, and I was guilty of that, is why would I want to hire someone that I think is gonna have more challenges? But actually, you help them understand that, and this is the JD, and you help them see that actually there's no gap over. Meaning help them see you without the filter.
Wow.
Or even despite the filter, you can do it. Yeah.
I got more than I expected, Everlyn. Yeah, gosh, goodness me. This is really heartwarming. Very, very heartwarming. Plus, you basically, you know, progress her career journey by putting her in a people leader kind of position, people manager kind of role, leading the helm, right? And I think this is going to be such an encouragement and a morale booster for those, you know, in the same category as well. Wow. Very good. This is so good. Yeah, I'm so glad. You've got so much to share.
Oh, no, not really. I think it's just from experience. And for some reason, I just happen to have these experiences. But again, if we don't open ourselves up to opportunities, right, I would never have these experience. But after 5 years, the lady, I mean, because you've mentioned her, it's an ongoing journey as a candidate, and advice is don't discount yourself. Again, like I said, don't discount yourself before others even disqualify you. So in her mind, now that especially, every time we try to promote her, we have to convince her to take the role. Just own it. If people see you, right, just own it. Be confident. Don't go in and wear that disability as your outfit.
As your armor, and then ask for sympathy vote. That's something I wanted to ask you. Did at any point in time any of these diverse group actually play the sympathy card? Sort of like, you should be pitying me, right? Do they do that? Like, I'm the victim here. Can you see I'm a victim of society and all that stuff, and therefore you should be accepting me? A little bit like hiding behind sympathy, trying to appeal to everybody's sympathy. Did any one of them actually play that card at all? The victim kind of mentality, and then no,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
No, I have to say these
Wow,
people
very
are,
good. Very
there's
good.
a lot of pride in who
Very
they
good.
are,
Yeah.
and they own it. But I think also it's also very sad if they have to play the card with me. It just
Yeah.
means that I really have made them feel that their
Yeah.
disability is their
Very
problem.
nice.
So thankfully, well, at least I don't think so, that
Yeah.
they've ever played that card. And I also hope that they will never, because
Yeah.
it's a two-way street. You should never, and I think in any conversations to employers,
Yeah.
if you hire, is do not ever make that a problem for them. If you have chosen to hire them for their disability, you've chosen to hire them for their age, you know
Mm,
it because you've had that interview. Don't
mm,
make it a problem anymore. Going forward, just be very, KPI, just focus on the job and not
mm,
the person when it comes.
mm.
You know what I mean? Don't
I
don't
know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's like you have a task, a new project on hand, and then you're just looking at your workforce, and then you just basically assign the task to people who are competent. Look beyond that. Look beyond that. Where are they from? What color do they show? Right? And what language they speak? Well, competence, competence. So competence-based assignment, and then give people equal chance. Yeah, I totally can resonate with that, because in my field of coaching and years of coaching, it's the same thing. After a while, it's really difficult to shoehorn people into a certain category, because the world has now, there's hardly any borders anymore, right? So everybody comes in as one individual, one packaging, and then they have a mix of experience as well. So yeah, I've been wrong many times too. Yes. But wow, this is cool. This is cool. I took away a lot of things. And this is a new category for our listeners. And you have also given and emphasized a lot on what employers can do, which is also another nugget of advice that I took away here. So employers need to not, shun away from this category of talent. And we're going to be faced with talent squeeze, actually, because the good ones probably will go for, after a while you'll find that, okay, who's left, right? And that's what our government is also trying to do, to encourage employers to consider talent from adjacent industries. But you have just opened another sector, so-called sector category, right? Not just from other industries, but also maybe within your industry, but they are just from another different kind of work group, so to speak.
Mm.
Yeah, so cool.
Thank you
But
for having me. But
yeah,
yeah, I just hope that eventually, in the the newspapers or the social
mm,
media that we see for senior people, we have people with disabilities being
mm,
featured.
very
And
nice.
yeah, and if you have that, built on them and shout out, like our company when we recently promoted her, it was a company-wide announcement, and we
Ooh,
just want to celebrate her, and they need to know that they need the encouragement. They need to know that, okay, let's just put it that way. If you never see them through that filter, they will never feel like they are different. Yeah. And we celebrate her promotion. We want to make it focus on her, just like anyone else would have if they had gotten that promotion.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's very strong advice. Never see them through that filter. They'll never see their own difference. Yeah, they'll never see their own difference. That's so cool. Yeah. See, you have all these one-liners. There's a lot of one-liners. I will have to go and listen and extract everything out. Yeah. So Everlyn, I thank you so much for spending your precious weekend with me. And then I took away a lot, way more than I expected, and it's such a bonus. So